Hey everybody. Been a while since my last demo. A lot of work has been done, so I'll try to just kind of capture the highlights of what I've done. So the first thing that I did is that my constructor for my game was getting a little out of hand. I was doing a lot of dependency injection, which is really good to do. It makes your class really easy to test. However, I had a lot of components that I wanted my game to have, um, such as a thing that would do ads, a thing that would, store assets, a thing that would store settings, so on and so forth. And just putting those in through the constructor in my code was getting to be a little bit unmanageable. Every time I did one, I'd have to write like a whole bunch of tests or manage a big file that was just, yeah, it was just getting silly. Also, I'd have to update like a whole bunch of existing constructors. So I decided to implement something else. So this is kind of the old way where I had a bunch of constructors coming in, or objects coming in from the constructor. Now I just have a container that has a lot of the components in it, and then I can just get those components from that container. This is not terribly different than the way that a lot of engines did. I had a post on the Facebook page kind of talking about this a while ago. Um, I still left a lot of the properties like my main engine would have, access to these components directly so that you didn't have to do a lookup every time. I still left that, but a lot of other things that I don't use as often, or aren't as common, or I don't think will be as common across other titles, I can just get it from the host engine and I can get that component. This might evolve a little bit more, but that's how it is and it seems to be working. So now anytime I have to add a component, I can just stick it in the container and whatever game object needs that component, it can just get it. So then the next change that was made was I fixed a crash. Oh no! When you started the game and the settings folder in local data or on Android didn't exist, it would crash the first time, and then create it as it created a crash dump, and and then um, be fine thereafter. So I wanted to stop that from happening. Obviously, here it is. It works fine. Starts up okay. The next thing I worked on, the real feature of this, or the real part, core feature, I guess, of this update was to get these mission debrief photos done. So I just want a little bit of art here. Took me a little bit longer than I would have liked, only because I'm terrible at, or rather inexperienced. I'm happy with the way that they came out, but I'm very inexperienced at making images in Photoshop. But this kind of represents the setting, this represents the device that you're using, and this represents the objective, just some like fake math and a graph and a picture of a rocket. But eventually down the line, I want to have these things selectable, but I may not do that feature. I don't know. We'll see. But either way, there's some default photos for now. The last thing that I did was I fixed a bug with screen scaling. It was having some problems where I was, so it would work just fine here. This is kind of just taking whatever size of screen that you have and kind of like fitting the world to it. So there's some scaling going on. But wherever I did stuff, like I involved a render target, which is kind of how I do a lot of the text stuff that I'm doing, so I can get the clipping. Um, it was screwing up and doing funny things. So that's all fixed. In the final version, these bars will be black. I'm just leaving them as gray so that I can see them, because especially on some Android devices uh, where they don't have actual um, 1920 by 1080 or 1280 by 720 screen resolutions, it has to do something. So it's going to perform some scaling there. So that's all for this update. Quite a lot went into it. I think next I'm going to be working on some music and getting some fading in and getting close to the end. I can see the end of my board. So thanks for watching and I'll see you guys later.